Mr. Chris, how are you? Congratulations. Are you ready, Nance? Okay. Let's call to order the City Council meeting of Tuesday, October 25th. Stand for the invocation and remain standing for the Pledge of Allegiance.
Dear God, our divine spirit, we thank thee for all the blessings that you have bestowed upon our little city. We thank thee for guiding us, guiding our council, our city manager, and all our city workers, for doing the best that they can for the highest good of all the residents and the city itself. We ask that you protect our city. We ask that you protect our country. We thank thee. Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Roll call, Ms. Shuck.
Yes, sir. Mayor Dale Masad.
Here.
Vice Mayor Terrence Rowe.
Here.
Councilwoman Nancy Britton. Here. Councilwoman Jenny Sorrell.
Here.
Councilman William Dittmer.
Here.
City Attorney Jim Matthew.
Here.
And City Manager Vince Lupo.
Here.
I need a motion for approval of the minutes.
Motion to approve?
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any staff announcements? Mr. Lupo?
No, sir.
Jim?
No, sir.
Okay.
Sir.
Comments from?
Mayor.
Yes.
Sir, I just wanted to make you aware, Mr. Arthur Giammarino came in a little early tonight and provided some of the council members and staff. He wasn't sure who he had already given them to, but he provided you each with the plaques that have the flags and the fragments from the airplane, some of the pieces of the building, as well as some casings from the final salute from 9/11 from the World Trade Center, and he wanted to make sure that you all were in receipt of that, and I'm sure you're appreciative.
Thank you, Artie.
Thank you.
Is
Thank
this
you.
the one I brought from the 9/11 ceremony, or is this a
No.
new one?
That's been replaced, sir.
What'd you do with those?
He has it, sir.
Okay.
It needs adjusted.
Comments from the general public. Mr. Thomas Brown. You're like a long-running series.
Thomas Brown, 7436 Candlelight Court. I have nothing to say tonight. I thought about what I was going to say, and I'm not prepared. Thank you.
Okay, sir. That was the height of the year. Okay, Mr. Lord, Reverend Lord.
Yes, sir. Mayor, council, out of town for a while, but good to be back with you. Want to share some upcoming events. First of all, Cure Fest. You'll see it there. For years, we feel as those that love the Lord, and Jesus taught us the greatest is the greatest servant, that we want to serve our community. So you'll see that, and Councilwoman Britton said there's some things that needed at Waterfront Park, so we'll meet there and go out and do projects. And also, I know Pastor Jerry had met with Pat about some things, but if there's anything you know of you want to do, you can see the agenda there. We'll meet at 8:30. We'll go out to projects, and then, of course, the only year we didn't work at Waterfront is when they were talking about maybe disassembling it. But anyway, there, if you'd come out and join us, it'd be great. It was wonderful when Councilwoman Nancy came out and Steve came out. We had a great time out working together. So there's that. Also, you know, all of us need to reach up and be greater than ourselves. And as a minister and a servant, how does Port Richey fit in the puzzle of all of it? Well, through our sheriff and prominent business people and others that's set thing in motion, there's a Renew Pasco, and if you're interested, I have that, but out at Word of Life Camp, 7 o'clock, November 5. November 5, there's going to be a networking of community leaders to how can we better renew Pasco and what you're at. So I plan to be there, be
Where
sharing
is
some
that?
things, leading in some things. What's that?
Where was that?
It'll be out at the, the Word of Life Camp off of 52.
Okay,
And
okay.
they'll have a breakfast out there at 7, and then it starts, and be some community leaders and a lot of things going on. Just how we together can make our community better. Also, I want to invite you tomorrow night is our annual fish fry, and particularly if the council would want to come, mayor, any of you, we'd be glad to have you, introduce you. And so it'd just be a good time. That starts at 6 o'clock. And then we do have a retreat, some people out of town for mostly ladies. That's Saturday at 2 o'clock. Over at the church. That's 8114 Leo Kidd Avenue. So let me go over that real quick. Don't want to take a lot of time, but Cure Fest, November 12th, starting out at Waterfront Park, and y'all have that. And be good to see the whole community out there. We have a good time working together. Also, Renew Pasco, November 5, out at Word of Life. And then, of course, like I say, our annual fish fry is tomorrow night at 6 o'clock at the church. You're all invited, so just would like you to come.
What's that address?
8114 Leo Kidd Avenue. And by the way, spent most of the day filleting and cleaning fish. They were caught this morning, so just had to taste them for lunch. They were good, so you're invited out. And that'll be wonderful. I also, before I've got a lot going. I'm getting to be an old man. It looks like we're going to be, I'm sorry.
I'll
Give me a
give you
little bit.
another
I just
30
wanted-
seconds.
Yeah, Steve, would you stand? Steve Jarvis, the Lord's put it on his heart to help serve the city. He ministers over here in the Infinity Gym. And so Steve's been walking the bad neighborhoods, praying, encouraging people how they can better serve and be just, better citizens of the city. And so just want you to know, Steve, we appreciate you, Steve, for being here with us. Okay, Lord bless you. Thank you for
one
the
last
extra
thing.
time. Yes, sir.
You said you have released the projects. What are the projects?
Well, we've got, Jerry's got a whole list of them. The number's on here to call. If you want any information, we've got everything from wheelchair ramps to lawn mowing to painting. But if you see the number, the 819-8881, or email Jerry at Good News, he has all of those posted. He can answer your questions. He's got a whole list of them, okay?
Thank you.
All righty, and if y'all know of any more that you can get to us. All right, thank you, Mayor. Thank you, Council. Lord bless you. Jesus is wonderful, and thank you all for letting us serve. Bless you.
Reverend Spalding.
Why don't you just call me Reverend Sandy?
Reverend Sandy.
Everybody does that. Sandra Spalding, 8207 Old Post Road, Fort Ritchie. I am speaking for Audigy right now. November 11th, 11 a.m., Veterans Day Memorial Service at Sand Pebbles. Everyone is invited to attend. We all need to express our feelings for all of our veterans. And I think this would be a wonderful time for everyone to show up and to show some respect for them. Okay, thank you, that's all.
What time was that, Reverend
11 a.m.
Sandy? 11 a.m.
November 11th,
Crack of noon.
I shall remind you.
Okay. Thank you. Okay, let's, anyone else from the general public want to speak? No? Bring it to the council. Comments, thoughts?
Just one thing, I had a discussion this morning with the ranger from Salt Springs Park. Unfortunately, the people that conservation and a few other entities of that park will not let us come with the bicycle trail in the back entrance. So we're going to have to find a way to go around the front. But they are still very anxious and wanting of us to make that a possibility. So I will probably have Mr. Lupo contact him because there's a few ideas he has. I know there's an easement runs along that line there. I think it might be able to be done through that. There's got to be a way to do it, and I'm sure we'll find it.
What possibly would make them not want to do that?
They've put a lot of money into the front of the park, and I think it's more of they want to create the presence as you come into that park, and they put a lot of time and a lot of money and effort into the front end. Plus, it's about control, and I think they have better control as people come in through the front than if they have two entrances. And then there's conservation, and conservation supersedes all other directives there, so.
Okay. Government works strangely, don't
We'll make it happen.
Yes, we will.
Okay, I just have a few things to say. First of all, once again, thanks Mr. Matthew for the budget, which is working out beautifully. I don't know if you all know, we just got about $775,000 impact
$765.
fees. Impact fees from the PUD on Washington. Mr. Lupo has done an amazing amount of projects with amazingly short on money. New police chief, looks like Chris has gotten higher. Mr. Washington, we've got a great group, we've got a great team, and we're gonna keep this thing going. Okay. I got a consent agenda. Need a motion?
Motion to approve?
All in favor?
Aye.
Resolution 1614, honoring Felton Roger Fussell. Is Tim here?
Yes, he is right there in the corner.
There you go. I was looking out
Yes.
there, Tim. Sorry, I apologize.
Would you like me to read?
Mr. Matthew,
Please.
read the resolution.
Well,
Resolution number 16-14. I'm going to read it in its entirety. Resolution by the City Council of the City of Port Richey, Florida, to recognize the sacrifice made by Pasco County resident Private First Class Felton Roger Fussell. Whereas, although American involvement in the conflict of Vietnam spanned several decades and presidencies, the ground offensive officially began in March of 1965 with the deployment of 2,500 Marines. By Christmas of that year, nearly 200,000 American troops were in the country. And whereas, though long and controversial in nature, this war in many ways defined an entire generation of Americans, and numerous brave men and women served during the conflict. And whereas, by the end of the Vietnam War in April of 1975, nearly 3 million American servicemen and women had been on the ground, in the air, and on the rivers and at sea within Vietnam's borders, serving in some capacity during the conflict. At least 58,195 paid the ultimate sacrifice during this difficult and painful period. And whereas, as a grateful nation, we honor the 58,195 patriots who sacrificed their lives during the Vietnam War. And whereas Pasco resident and Gulf High graduate Felton Roger Fussell enlisted in the Marine Corps and departed for Vietnam in March of 1969. And whereas Roger was killed by mortar fire in Quang Tri Province on June 6, 1969. Now therefore be it resolved that the City Council of the City of Port Richey hereby supports and recognizes Public Law 114-203, passed by the 10th Congress of the United States of America on July 29, 2016, to designate the facility of the United States Postal Service located at 4122 Madison Street, Elfers, Florida, as the Private First Class Felton Roger Fussell Memorial Post Office. Thank you.
Wow.
I hope you don't mind if I don't take a couple of minutes.
do whatever you want.
This is Jack Matheson. Jack went in the Marine Corps with Roger in 1968 and managed to retire from the Marine Corps and come back. None of this would be going on had it not been for some of the efforts of George Winton, who was Roger's best friend in high school. And he started all this with the cities. Judy Kennedy and the postmaster of Elfers, Teresa, are the ones that actually contacted Gus Bilirakis and asked him if he would consider putting forth a statute to the House and the Senate, and he did and voted unanimously. So it was approved. So without them, this wouldn't be happening either. This young lady sitting on the end here is my sister, Jackie. There's 5 of us in the family, or was, and Jackie is the oldest of the daughters. Myra and Faye couldn't be here, but they will be at the dedication. The dedication is going to take place on November 6th at 1:30 at the Elfers Post Office. And I wanted to put a face to the name, and I wanted you to see who you voted or approving this resolution, and I can't tell you how much we appreciate you doing that. It's very honorable, and I'm very dedicated to you guys for doing that. It's awesome. Thank you very much. I don't have anything else to say. If Jack or George wants to say something, please help yourself if the mayor does not mind.
Absolutely.
I'm sorry, what was the time on
1:30 in the afternoon.
November 6th at the Elfers Post?
That's a Sunday.
Mhm.
They have to do it when the post office is closed. Thanks.
The picture that Tim has here is, of course, the Marine Corps official picture. You don't smile when you take these pictures. This is the Roger that I knew. Always smiling, always good-natured. If you go by the county building, they have a remembrance memorial over there for fallen soldiers, residents of Pasco County. There are 12 from the Vietnam War. Young men who gave their lives for this country so we could have a meeting like this here tonight that fought for our freedom. This is one of the faces. This young man gave his life. And I don't know about you people, but when I'm going down the road and I see the signs on the road or this building is dedicated to this soldier, in my mind I think, like, well, what kind of person was that? This is your answer right here. I thank all members that are here today and live in this county, and Jack especially, for his service to this country. Thank you, Jack.
Mayor, they wanted to get some pictures with council, if that was possible, sir.
Sure.
They would like to have some pictures with council.
Oh, absolutely. What do you want? You want us
Up
up here?
front? Sure. Council, Nancy? Yeah, sure.
Can we get everybody to scoot over either this way or into the middle a little bit more? There we go. Ready? 1, 2, 3, and one more. 1, 2, 3. Thank you.
Thank you. Me too. Thanks again, brother. Thank you very much.
Okay, next item on the agenda is submission of the FERDAP application. I'm gonna turn that over to Mr. Luke, or are you gonna do this, Jim? Oh, you're gonna, okay.
I'll just read it. I'll read by title only, resolution number 16-15, a resolution authorizing the submission of an application for the Florida Recreation Development Assistance Program, FERDAP, to the Florida Department of Environmental Protection for federal fiscal year 2017-2018. Jocelyn, anything you want to say?
This is a grant application that we're filling out for the FERDAP grants, which we already have $100,000 with that big check that we got. We are eligible for $50,000 more dollars. So that's what we're doing here with this resolution tonight.
Good job.
Wow,
Very
good
good
job.
job. Anything, council?
I'm just looking.
She's small, but she's mighty.
We have to approve, okay.
Motion
I need a
to approve
then.
resolution 16-15.
Second.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. First reading ordinance number 16-653. I'll turn it over to Mr. Matthew again.
Yes, just as fresh your memories, this is nothing more than a clerical ordinance to bring our fine schedule in line. As you can see, some went down a couple of dollars, some went up in line with the county's fine schedule, which they recently changed, since now we prosecute our code violations over at the county, where it's mandatory that we do this. Reading by first reading by title only, ordinance number 16-653, an ordinance of the Code of the City of Port Richey, Florida, amending Chapter 2 Administration, amend Article 5 Code Enforcement, Section 2-299, violations and penalties, and providing for severability and effective date. Looking for a motion to approve.
Motion to approve ordinance number 16-653.
And,
Second.
okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, we're at boards and committees. Does anybody have a name? Sean Poole, I've talked to a couple of times. He's gonna try to come up with a name. Mr. Artie has refused. Mr. Todd might be a good one for, he didn't want to do it. Okay, we'll table this unless you have a, next time I'm gonna have a name, one way or the other, so. Motion to table?
Motion to table?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
And that's, I don't have, oh, here we go. We got old business. Councilwoman?
Old business. I'd like to know if we have done anything through the police department about the motorcycle noise and the speeding problems that we've been having.
Which street was that on? Whereabouts?
It was a complaint by a resident about the motorcycles that are in his neighborhood making extraordinary amount of noise. I don't have it with me tonight. I usually have it.
If I may, Chief. We had a discussion earlier, and since that meeting, the chief has instituted a program with respect to radar enforcement on several different sections of the city. The radar enforcement constitutes pulling individuals over, ascertaining their credentials, and informing them of the speed that they were, in fact, the infraction that they were incurring. The individuals were then either given in some instances, depending upon the grievousness of the action, given a ticket. In other instances, given a warning and written warning, and in some instances, simply allowed to have a learning experience with reference to what is occurring. The chief is instituting this program of radar confrontations in different sections at different times throughout the city. Our citizens have requested it, and in the initial stops, they have proven to be quite beneficial with respect to individuals understanding what their violations are, and in effecting a slowing down of the issues. Officers were informed that they are to use their best judgment with respect to issuing a violation, a ticket. And so far, it has been well received in those areas that it has been utilized in, and we will continue to do that for the foreseeable future, and in particular during the holiday time, where many citizens have a tendency to become a little loose in their activities. But this will be an ongoing program throughout the city, and we would encourage any citizen who's having a problem that they perceive with respect to speeders in their neighborhood to contact the City Hall, or in particular the police department. We have witnessed several sections of, we have visited several sections of the community, Lorenzen and some of the others, Old Post, Bay, and several other areas. In some areas, we are ensuring that there are there's proper signage. In some cases, we're adding new signs with respect to speed limits, where they may be deficient, et cetera. That's ongoing. In fact, we were out today with some signs being placed. So that is the extent to what we're attempting to do. We're attempting to slow down the traffic and to provide a learning experience to those individuals who are inadvertently violating the law, and a true learning experience to those who are aggressively violating the law.
Okay, the second thing is did planning and zoning resolve the issue that had been brought up to us about the feather flags from the BBA last spring?
If I might, we have, staff has been looking at that. We intend to go back with respect to that issue. Part and parcel of that issue now involves our chief building official and our attorney. We will have a resolution to it, and we'll probably bring it back to council at the next meeting.
Thank you.
Ms. Britton.
Just since we're bringing up things with the police department, there is active prostitution on Washington Street and Chapel. Just kind of saw some of that going on this evening.
Please turn your cell phones off. Was that a question? Did she ask a question?
I don't know what this is.
Nancy, was that a question?
Well
I'm
done.
sorry, I got, were you asking a question?
No, I was just saying.
She was saying thank you for the efforts. Okay.
Okay.
Anyone else?
I was remiss. There's a student apparently here that wanted to speak on ordinance number 16-653. I have no PhD in government, but welcome.
Good evening, Mayor and council members. My name is Jason Lopez. I live at 11901 Colony Lakes Boulevard, Newport Richey, Florida, 34654. I'm a student of the Public Policy and Administration program at St. Petersburg College under Professor Jeffrey Conchnabel. First and foremost, I want to thank you for the opportunity to speak in front of you today and for all that you do for the city of Port Richey. The agenda item I'm speaking on today is Ordinance 16-653, which brings the city code in alignment with changes Pasco County has made to the Uniform Fine Schedule. The ordinance is amending Chapter Administration, Article 5, Code Enforcement, Section 2-229, Violations and Penalties. The main objective is the overall welfare and safety of the citizens of Port Richey. The classifications of violations shall be classified according to the new aligned Uniform Fine Schedule. Every municipality has to follow the same Uniform Fine Schedule, which is governed by the courts. There are 7 classifications of the Uniform Fine Schedule, Classes 1 through Classes 7. Classes 1 through 5 all have changes with the fines, with ranges from $5 per violation to $20 per violation. Classes 6 and 7 have no changes. With that being said, the uncontested and contested costs have gone up. This is due to additional administrative costs in areas like general mail, certified mail, process service, etc. I'm in favor for this ordinance. The primary basis for the code enforcement is to protect the citizens' property values, health and wellness, safety, and to maintain a public appeal while setting county standards. Without standards, we have nothing. There's nothing better than having a safe and healthy community. And with these standards put in place, the city, alongside the county, should have nothing but success. Again, I want to thank you for the platform, for being able to speak tonight, and for all that everyone does. And I also want to send a special thanks to Ms. Sherry Ewald for her help in her expertise. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Stay in school. Dump a couple of things on Mr. Matthew. We were talking just about the police and stopping the citizens. I think in the past, we talked about having a sticker for people that live in Port Richey. I don't know what the legalities are. It can be a free sticker, but that way the police would know. If you're out there on Bay Boulevard by Sam Pebble, you got the sticker, you live here. You don't have it, maybe you don't. It's just a extra bit of caution. Is that an illegal thing, as most of my things are?
Are you asking me if special treatment should be given to
No
Port Richey?
special treatment, just it allows them to know that
For what
the person
purpose?
lives there.
And for what purpose?
Well, if you go down Bay Boulevard and you're going that way, if you're not going.
No,
to
I'm
Bay-
asking the purpose you'd want to have it there. So the
Why would
police
I-
know who
I didn't-
residents are versus non-residents?
That would get, if I
So-
was a policeman, I'd stop somebody going 60 on Bay. I would like to know they live here, they ought to be here. Plus, we've had Harbor Isles call me about some thefts they had. They were pretty minor, but they were willing to put it in for cameras at the corner of Bay and, what's that, Waterfront.
So what's your question?
And the question, how about this?
I'm just trying to figure out the question. Is your
Figure
question you
out-
want to give special treatment to
We
Port
want
Richey
to give,
residents?
we want to know who lives in Port Richey. How's that? Anybody
If I-
disagree with that idea?
If I might, Mayor, maybe I can help you a little bit here. From a different, if you come at this from a different angle, a simple sticker identifying a vehicle as belonging to a family, individual, a business in the city of Port Richey might make things a little bit easier for our police officers who in fact are pulling a vehicle over. And given the heat in Florida, windows are often tinted, would give them a little level of comfort knowing that the individual in that vehicle most likely is a city resident versus a vehicle that has no notification. Obviously, the sticker would be purely voluntary. It would cost nothing for the citizens to acquire that sticker. That's a purely voluntary item. So from that perspective, with no special favors attached to the sticker in any way, shape, or form, I think it is nothing more than would be a simple matter to provide that sticker to any citizen who would like one. And I would refer back to our city attorney, but under those circumstances, I believe that would be a simple, doable project.
And the rest of my question is, if we were to indeed go and make a launch on the east side or across from the fire department, while we can't give the citizens in this town whose taxes support Nick's Park, we could make that identification number something that would get them in to be able to launch for free. And we've spent $150,000
If your question is, could you
use that.
If you use Port Richey, I'm sorry, if you use Port Richey dollars, okay, and the source of the funds is Port Richey money, you could make it just for Port Richey residents,
That's
or you
all
want
I
to
want.
charge more to someone else, you could do that for sure. The only thing that stops it over at Nick's Park is the fact that we used CBGB grant money, right? Is that it? CBGB grant money? And so we can't do it there, but
Right,
there would be
but
nothing
If we
stopping
did the
us from there.
sticker, I would like to keep
Yeah.
in mind that it might go later, make it a $1 purchase, whatever.
Yeah, and
Then
just so
they can
you
launch.
understand the comment, now that we're on public record here, sir, you could not expect treatment from the police especially different for Port Richey residents than others. So
You
if
mean-
you, let me
Really?
finish, because it's very important since the record's already been created, that to create Chief will tell you, he can't, let speeders go that live in Port Richey, and if you don't, you get a ticket. So you can't do that. So if the question was, can you do it for that purpose, the answer is no. If you could do it for what Mr. Lupo was saying, the answer is yes. So that's why I was being very clear with the question, sir. What's the difference? There's a very serious difference.
Someone happened to say
Chief,
that I wanted to give them
No,
a
I'm
free
just clearing the
ticket.
record here in case, someone brings that claim. This is very serious business if you're doing it for that purpose. So if we're gonna do it for the purpose Mr. Lupo said, that's fine.
That
I'll
was
check
what
that
I
out.
said, I just didn't say it like,
Okay.
but.
Just wanna be clear,
I do not want
okay?
the police giving any drunk Port Richey residents a ticket.
I could see
It's
the
a
police
joke.
chief getting nervous over there when you were saying it. That's a very
No,
sensitive
no, I just
subject.
thought it'd give you some level of comfort, or some of the police a level of comfort, no. they're
I'll
supposed to
check
be
it
there.
out to see if we could do it.
And-
I
You
would
know,
think
there's a
so.
whole other side to that story. I'm not so sure my level of comfort would be so good, because I would not want people, I want one sticker on my car that says I live in Port Richey. First of all, people out there probably don't like Port Richey, but it tells people where I live. And as a female, I'm not so sure I want that. And I personally won't pull over for the police unless there's a lot of lights and people around, because I don't know, I mean, I trust people in Port Richey and our police department, but you know what? I don't know everybody. And so I'm a female on the road and a police officer. I don't care where I am. I'm gonna go someplace where there's other people before I allow a police officer to stop me. I told the Port Richey Police that a couple of years back. I said, if I don't stop for you, please don't, call out the militia. I'm just gonna go someplace that I feel comfortable stopping.
If
So-
I might.
Please.
Your comments are well advised, and as I stated earlier, if the city intends to go down this road after Mr. Matthew reviews the issue, as I stated earlier, it would be purely voluntary. So if you chose to place a sticker on your vehicle, it's entirely up to you. With reference to your comments about pulling over in a well-lighted area, and you proceed to that section or that area in a moderate speed, I'm sure that every police officer would understand that, would simply follow you to that location with the appropriate lights, not necessarily sirens, so that you could have some level, any citizen, male or female, would have a level of comfort in being pulled over. We live in treacherous times, and that's a wise and advisable precaution, ma'am.
And so you're gonna,
I'll check the specific question of whether you can issue voluntary Port Richey IDs to people of some fashion. I'll check
I mean,
that out.
if you realize in
As
the
long as its
future we
purpose
may.
is not for the other purpose, yeah.
Well, the major purpose was in the future for launching.
Whatever,
Okay.
whatever,
But
as long as the record's clean.
like Ms. Britton said, maybe they don't like Port Richey, but I think in the future, everybody's gonna think Port Richey's a pretty nice place to be. And one last thing, and I'll let you guys go. Sun Cruise boat, casino shuttle boat, has brought numerous and sundry complaints to me about their speed. A couple of people said they've almost been overturned. I talked to the chief, and I'm gonna ask this question very well, so you don't misunderstand me. I think it was perfectly legal to, if we had a police boat, and this is not just for Sun Cruise, but they're just the most egregious. If the police boat were parked on, the Riverside Road, what is the road? How are we?
Sunset Point?
Limestone, Sunset?
No,
Sunset?
Sunset, yes. If we had a police boat on a car on Sunset, and any boat comes through, pushing wake, on plane, obviously breaking the law, the police can take a picture, shoot them with radar, get their Florida ID license, and send them a ticket. And so we don't have to be on the water all the time. but it's gonna get worse, as you and I have talked about. I'm gonna speak in the mic. The boat traffic's gonna get worse, the chances of accidents are gonna get worse, and there's a whole bunch of Yankees like Artie that go too fast on the river. But the Sun Cruise thing is dangerous, and I've been flooded once at least. So I think that, do you know off your head if this is legal?
Mr. Mayor, if I might, rather than have our attorney make a legal opinion without thoroughly researching the issue, if you would just simply allow staff to grapple with the issue, we'll resolve the finer points that we understand from your discussion and bring it back to council for council's consideration, provided it meets the legal parameters.
You always have a longer way to get to the 2 points than I do, but this government's go. So you can't give me a
I'll
question.
comment on it.
You don't know?
Off the top of my head, I'd want to research the issue, but just so I understand the question, you want to know if the police can issue motor vessel infractions from the land? Is that the question?
That is the question, like
I
a
would
red
presume
light
so.
camera.
I got to check it out. I don't know. I'd have to check that out.
I'm not sure that there's an element to statute that'll allow you to mail.
Yeah, it's like, kind of like red light boat tickets, huh?
Well, you can meet them at the dock. The other,
By an officer.
It wasn't on a boat.
Got it.
What?
I
It
understand.
wasn't on a boat, and you can pull over the boat as you would a motor vehicle, and this is easy.
well, I was on, and you better check that, because I was on the water, it's been a year or two ago, and one of the officers was on the guy went by too fast, maybe he didn't know it was his own, whatever. And why aren't you guys giving them tickets? They said they couldn't. So please figure out if we're,
Well, between me and the chief, we'll research it. That's what the council wants.
well, mainly I wouldn't like to slow down that big boat, because it's dangerous.
If I might, Mayor, we'll take it back under consideration. We'll go through both ends of the law, and when and if council decides to approve whatever we bring back, it will be universally applied.
Oh, absolutely. I'm not saying only. I'm just, that's the,
Yes, sir.
okay. Now I'm through rambling.
So, no, I'm sorry.
You say good. How dare you?
I have some.
It is 8:10.
I have
These
some-
used to be at midnight. Go.
Council, there's an extraordinary incident that has occurred that your staff has been grappling with to resolve. And that is, we have an entertainment industry on the waterfront who has requested authorization for a special Pirates Head event, I believe it's called, wherein individuals will start here in Port Richey and eventually work their way down to Key West in celebration of Jimmy Buffett. The event, as we were recently advised, may have as many as 700 to 1,000 participants, which will put extraordinary stresses on several of our systems and our departments. We met this morning with the owner of Gill Dogs, where we had an open, free, and frank discussion with reference to the issues. And one of the salient issues involved is that individuals, since this is on a Saturday, will most likely and probably obviously use our waterfront park as a place to park their vehicles, because there absolutely will not be sufficient parking for that number of individuals. That creates several different problems for the city. Inasmuch as anyone can use the park for its design purposes and to park there, there will be many individuals who will be utilizing the park solely for parking. And our park, by law, is open from dawn to dusk. At dusk, the park gates on all our parks are closed and locked. And we are absolutely certain that there may be individuals participating in the event who will be left inside the facility. It would be up to the city to then ticket those individuals and physically tow and remove their vehicles from that location. It is my personal opinion that that is not exactly the image that we in the city of Port Richey would like to portray. We would like to have our waterfront open and accessible within certain limits. Given that this is, and we made it abundantly clear to the owner that this would be a one-time single event only, under those conditions, that all conditions with respect to police accessibility, parks and recreation, public works individuals would be involved, our fire department would be involved, be ensured that there would be adequate police coverage, adequate ingress and egress with respect to a potential fire truck for emergency purposes coming and going, and several other concessions made by the individual in eventually addressing a much larger issue with respect to venues and specific functions related to special events and licensing. To that extent, I would like to simply inform council of my decision to allow the park in this one and one only time to be open beyond the closing time, so that any individuals in the park will have the opportunity to egress the park without having their vehicle ticketed and towed. This was an extremely difficult position to be placed in, but my feeling is the best possible face that the city can put on a rather difficult situation. Individuals present at that meeting included the police department, the fire department, public works, chief building officials, code enforcement individuals, our city attorney, myself, assistant city attorney, and the individual owner. This meeting was not conducted in an adversarial, as an adversarial role, but as of one to try and begin a dialogue to facilitate future changes necessary for that area. I believe that the owner understood very clearly our concerns and our intent, and I would simply wish to inform council of my decision, unless you wish to tell me no, of moving forward in that direction. Again, this was after quite some time and bringing many issues to the table well beyond this one single issue. I believe that there was a singular meeting of the minds that was probably long overdue, and we will as a community begin to move in a more specific manner to ensure that there is an equal, fair, and level playing field across the commercial community on our waterfront. And That is a statement that I made, and unless you wish to give me some other guidance, that is the direction I intend to move, unless you have specific objections. As an aside, the park itself is granted to us via the Florida Communities Trust, and we have taken steps to notify the Florida Community Trust of the event, and they will eventually send us some additional guidance. But until we receive that, I am proceeding in a city-friendly manner with respect to the guests that will be attending this event in our community.
Okay, and then I have to say I agree with Mr. Lupo. And we all have to understand this is a one-time only thing. As Jimmy Buffett, it's a thing that occurs annually. Unless you have other feelings, I would have to go with Mr. Lupo.
Well, my first concern, of course, would be with the FCT, and you've contacted them. We'll see what they have to say. I guess my other concern would be, I would imagine that this event, there's going to be amplified outdoor music.
That is an issue that we spoke about, and in his article, his application, his permit does not have marked a band amplified music. If in fact there is any, our code enforcement official will do whatever is necessary with respect to the decibel level readings. So from that standpoint, it is a Jimmy Buffett kind of thing, and I believe there was 26 separate venues to appear. So it was portrayed to us not to be a hard rock roll kind of event. So from that perspective, the code enforcement officials will be involved in many different aspects of this event. Everything from the sound levels to us having individuals in the park to assure that anyone who parks in that park, whether that they park in a place and position not to affect any damage to the park or the flora or fauna there. That's part of our obligation to the Florida Communities Trust.
Is this an annual
event? That may be. I'm not referring to the annual event. I made it absolutely abundantly clear that this is a one-time exception based solely on the necessity to hold harmless the individuals attending this event beyond dusk and not having their cars ticketed and towed. There may be many future events, but part of our discussion and part of my intent was to go beyond this simple one-time exemption and to address more critical issues with respect to an event center, who is throwing an event, who is licensed to throw an event. It goes well beyond the simple parking issues. It is a first-time serious attempt on a senior staff level to address previous latitudes granted or enforced or not enforced. So the issue is one of a first-time mutual trust evidenced by the owner and by the city. And the people caught in the middle will be held harmless. Again, we have notified the Florida Communities Trust. If the Florida Communities Trust give us any information to the contrary, of course, Mr. Sunyan will be informed, and we will close that venue, that park gate earlier, and allow a notification to his customers to remove their vehicles under pain of ticketing and towing. At the same time, I am moving forward to place a new gate and a new fence along the front of Waterfront Park to match the one that is along a very attractive gate, the one that is along Miss Baldy's property. It will go entirely across the front of the Waterfront Park up to our property line at Gildogs, take a right-hand turn and go up the water line to preclude someone coming around. It will have new gates, and it will once and for all allow Waterfront Park to become secure. It will be operated by the police department at dawn and dusk as far as being open and closed. Other than that, it will be maintained by our Public Works Department.
Any comment?
Yeah, will there be additional police required for this event?
There will be additional police required for the event. There will be additional parks individuals required for the event. There will be a very strong potential for EMS fire to be at the event. There will be a code enforcement present at the event, and all of those expenses will be borne by the owner, Mr. Sorensen.
Okay, including possibly off-duty hiring?
Absolutely. Whatever it takes to ensure the life safety issues and public safety of anyone attending any event in this city, in particular this one, because of the large number of individuals. Our staff during the meeting this morning was extremely clear about what direction we will be taking with respect to those issues. The fact that police will be enforcing a clear ingress, egress for a potential fire equipment, emergency equipment, to ensure extra safety precautions. There will be additional people, and those expenses will be borne by commitment from Mr. Surgeon this morning.
Thank you.
Tim, I'm sorry, a while ago you asked to speak.
Sir, just before you adjourn, I'd like to say something, if you don't
Okay.
mind.
All right,
I can do it now if you want.
Please.
And I
We could ramble
apologize,
for a
and
long
I really
time.
appreciate you giving me a little bit of time, and I know it's very unorthodox to do that, but I don't think I heard a vote on Resolution 1614.
He's right.
He's right.
Nobody else, well, we can go back. That 1614.
Go back and do it.
Make a motion to approve.
Resolution 1614.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you, sorry.
Thank you very much.
Guess we got carried away there.
We got carried away.
The whole picture thing.
Yeah, he normally nudges me. I'm sorry, Tim.
No, thank you.
Motion?
I think we go with, do we need a motion for this?
No, sir. No motion.
We'll let Mr. Lupo do his job. It does accentuate the necessity of a,
It's me, I swear. I don't know what it is.
Something
of
over
a
here.
future dialogue on this open air and the rest of the things that we've been crossways with.
Yeah, I hate to open an old wound, but I did
Yeah, that's not-
field a complaint on Sunday for amplified noise coming out of Gildogs. And it was from someone all the way on the south side of the river. So they were pretty upset. I guess someone did call the police about it sooner or later from what I heard, but, yeah, I don't know, this is a sticking point we've been over so many times, because we want to welcome things into the city, we want to move forward, but at the same time, we have to do it cautiously. I just hope this isn't setting some type of precedent in any way, shape, or form, because we've got Whiskey Joe's and others coming to the city. And I just don't want to put us in harm's way by making a decision that,
Well,
Mr.
scream it
Councilman.
loud and clear,
Yeah,
one time.
Mr. Councilman, if I might, on not one, not four, but probably in the neighborhood of 8 or 9 occasions, I was extremely clear, very explicitly stated that this was a one-time event that was contingent upon FCT. Also, that it was contingent upon a demonstration of good faith to resolve other very pressing issues with respect to that entire venue. I was exceedingly clear. It was demonstrated to me, and I believe the assembled group, of the realization of exactly what we were doing. And I must have stated another 3 or 4 or 5 times my desire to create a level playing field for every participant, business participant on that waterfront because of the direction that we're moving in. It would be totally unjust to allow one organization certain latitude and deny another. In fact, with respect to that single issue, there was a code enforcement effort made today to reinforce exactly that, a level playing field. Your staff right now is considering several pieces of legislation to come back to you to address this entire permit process and to begin to tackle the serious issue that has affected this community since the 90s, and that is the transmission of sound across the water, affecting many different sections of the community. And somewhere between here and there, we have to develop a meaningful solution to that problem, whether it be the prohibition of amplified sound, which includes everything from bullhorns to televisions, or whether it is a meaningful decibel level approach coupled with acoustic intervention at the source of the sounds. But we're working extremely hard on that. In fact, our able new building official came up with a draft of some issues that we're speaking to right now, and we're examining that right now, sir. We're very mindful of your concern.
I'm sure you considered using that piece of property across from the fire station for parking if FCT has shut us down. We could shuttle from there. That would park a lot of cars over there.
Yes, sir, that is one of the potential uses of that site, along with about 4 or 5 others. That site right now, unfortunately, is not prepared to take this issue on. One of the venues, one of the avenues that was discussed is his arrangement with Walmart with respect to utilizing their parking lot and a shuttle from that. And so there will be, excuse me, there will be that for future, this current event and future potential events. He also indicated to us that he was in the process of purchasing a piece of property practically adjacent to his own, that he has other intentions, provided there are certain zoning considerations, whatever, to facilitate additional parking to lessen the disruption to the citizens with respect to parking.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Any other comments? Public?
Motion to adjourn?
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
You see, we always get a vote on that one.
Yeah.
Okay, Tammy, you want me to leave this?
I take it this is ours?
Yes.
That's the official. Yeah, right.
Just so you know, all kinds of stuff out there when people try to do that. You've put on the record, well, I'd like to do it so You polluted the record now in case something bad happens. I was trying to stop you from doing that. You can ask me in advance. You can say, do we have resident stickers just for residents? Oh, of course we can, as long as you're not doing it for that reason.
No, my reason, I don't think.
But that's what you said, Dale. So the police know who's a resident, really?